Now, I don't know if you could already tell by yourself, but I hate a lot of things. There are a lot of things that I hate. A great deal. I hate a lot. Okay? But specifically, what I hate and I wanted to talk about is when people who are arguably not how do I formulate this? When goddamn, I should have fucking formulated this ahead of time. People who think that I am not a musician because I'm not rich and famous, but think people who are rich and famous, who are in the music business, are musicians even though they're not. Too confusingly worded? Maybe. Look, I play instruments. A whole bunch of them. Play guitar, bass, piano, drums, recorder, harp. Now, I'm not saying I play any of these instruments good. Well, I'm okay-ish at guitar. I mean, if we judge it this way, I'm good enough to play guitar in a band. I'm not great at guitar, but I'm well into the good enough for a band territory, right? Bass, maybe, depends on the genre. Keyboard / piano, not really. Drums, only in an AC/DC cover band, otherwise not. Recorder, no, not good enough. But still, right, I play all those instruments. I spend time learning and practicing these instruments and all that stuff, right? And time which I should spend sleeping, but alas. I write songs, loads of them. I've written dozens of songs, and I've hundreds, maybe thousands of ideas that are not fully finished songs yet, but that might be someday. So I got the practical part. I play the stuff. I got the creative part. I create the stuff. And I also study music. Not study as in I go to university and study music that way, but I study music like I listen to music. I listen for what the voices do, what the instruments do. I try to transcribe it. I look at other transcriptions. I see, this person used a major 7 here. That's interesting. I do that. That kind of study music. Not the fucking go to school and have some asshole talk about fucking counterpoint for 50 billion hours kind of studying music. I study music, okay? How about you fuck yourself? I study music. So I make music physically with instruments, also without instruments, computer stuff. I create music, I think up music, I write music, I study music, I even teach music. Yeah. Unofficially, I'm a music teacher and a guitar teacher. So, yeah. But there are some people who have a very weird perception of what a musician is and what not a musician is. Because I would say, personally, that these things that I counted off there, those make me a musician. The fact that I create music, play music, study music, bibbidi bobbidi boop, that means I'm a musician. And in contrast, a person who plays no instrument, knows nothing about music, doesn't write music, doesn't study music, I'd say that is a person who is not a musician. Okay? So now that we have that established, let us no longer look at me, let us look at someone else instead. I know it's a fucking meme hating on the guy, and I know I'm about 10 years too late, but let's have a look at Justin Bieber. Some people, stupid people, match is starting, I gotta play. Some people, stupid people that is, would probably consider him a musician. Why? Probably because they think he makes music. I beg to differ. I personally disagree. I am of the opinion that he does not make music. Because if we look at quote-unquote his songs, there's nothing really original about them. Nothing that hasn't been done a billion times and is in every fucking song in the fucking radio. So, And apart from that, he doesn't even write those songs. If you go to just fucking Google Justin Bieber songs, and you will literally see an entire team of writers. An entire team of writers who write the songs for him. Who write Justin Bieber songs, quote unquote. These people write the lyrics, they write the words, they write the melodies, they write the chord progression. To everyone who takes just even a surface level look at this shit, it becomes obvious that that Justin Bieber plays a tiny, minuscule little part in, actually thinking up his music, the music that gets sold with his name on it. Even surface level research will reveal that he is not too involved in the process of bringing that music into the world. So, I would argue, just for simplicity's sake, make it black and white, I would argue he doesn't write music. His teams of writers do. Maybe sometimes for some songs there might be some involvement. I don't know, I wasn't present. But in general, I would argue he doesn't really write music. So, does he study music? Long story short, I have no fucking clue. I would bet about 2/3 of my fucking ass that he does not, and that he knows nothing about music. But I can't know for sure. There's no way for me to tell. Next part. Does he perform music? Once again, I would argue no. Because he doesn't play any instruments. I mean, as far as I know, he can play some basic chords on guitar. Stuff that, like, kids learn in 4th grade or something. Big fucking deal. Nothing to write home about. Baby stuff. Does he play any other instruments? Not that I know of. Never seen any footage of him actually playing any instrument, or playing any instrument well for that matter. But he is not really known as an instrument playerino person. He's more known as a singer, isn't he? But does he sing? Well, I guess noises come out of his body which end up on quote-unquote his songs. But I would argue he doesn't really sing like, let's say for example, a Bruce Dickinson sings, or even an Ed Sheeran sings. Because first of all, live is playback. I don't care what you say, I don't care what you try to argue, he does not sing live. Because there have been many occasions where it became very obvious that it was a playback just by the fact that the singing kept going once he stopped singing. Most notably, when he started puking. He literally started puking on stage, but the singing kept going. There's video of it on YouTube. Just Google or search on YouTube Justin Bieber puke on stage or something like that. You'll find it. It's not hard to find. Undeniable proof that it's a playback. Now, does that mean that he never sings? And that is always a playback? Not necessarily, but it's very likely. Like, why would he use a playback for that song and then suddenly no longer use a playback? Nah, unlikely. Does he play any instruments live? No. No, he doesn't, period. Open and shut case, that's easy. No, he doesn't. Does anyone else play any instruments live at his live shows? Some of them. I've seen people walking around with instruments, handling them, but I think most of it is going to be a playback as well. And even if there are people playing instruments, it's not him, right? It's other people. So, he does not create music. He does not really write music. He does not really perform music. And whilst I have no way of proving this, I am reasonably convinced that he doesn't really know anything about music. So is he a musician then? I would argue no. I would argue he's just a pretty face that the music industry slaps on covers of CDs, or more chronologically accurate, onto Spotify thumbnails. Because what if you were to take out Justin Bieber out of Justin Bieber music? And once again, we are just using him as an example. This applies just as well to other quote-unquote musicians. What would happen if we were to take him out of the equation? Nothing would change. Nothing. Just put some other asshole with a pretty face for little girls to squeal over there. Nothing would change. It would remain the same. But I don't know, what the fuck is that fucking dumb bitch's name? Taylor Lautner. I think he's too old for that now, but put his face on the Spotify thumbnails instead of Justin Bieber's. What difference would it make? None at all. Same fucking deal. So I would argue he is not a musician, insofar as that he neither creates nor performs music, and that he probably doesn't really know anything about music. Probably. Now, if you ask any stupid person, they would tell you he is a musician because he is rich and famous and kinda somewhat in the music business, whereas I am not. I'm not really rich, except for the tax fraud, but we don't talk about that. I'm not really famous. If anything, I'm infamous for being so fucking annoying. But I don't think that counts. And in the music business, nah, not really. I'm not in the business, really. I just fucking make music in my fucking apartment. So, from my point of view, I'm a musician and people like Justin Bieber are not. And back to where we began, stuff I hate. I hate when people be like, Justin Bieber is a musician because he is rich and famous, and I am not a musician because I'm not rich and famous. That doesn't really make any sense to me. Like, what the fuck? Like, is richness and famousness really the measure here? For being a musician? I'd say richness and famousness is the measure for being a celebrity, but not for being a musician. Now, to simplify all this shit a bit, I hate when... I know this sounds kinda arrogant, but hear me out, okay? I hate when people who don't deserve to be called a musician get called a musician. I believe I deserve to be called a musician because I create music, I play music, I perform music, I study music, blah, 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 blah. Not going to say it all again. And I think people who do none of those things do not deserve to be called a musician. And I hate when people turn it around and make it just fame-based. Be like, if you're famous, you're a musician, and if you're not famous, you're not. I hate that kind of thinking. That's fucking bullshit, and it doesn't help anyone. To me, that just shows that you have very little understanding of the world around you. Or you just have a very, very weird perception of what a musician is. Sorry for making this rambly without any script. If you don't like that, I don't give a fuck, you can kill yourself. Now, memory is kinda almost full, so I gotta end it here. Thanks for watching. Visit my Patreon, give me money, like and subscribe. Comment on why I am wrong and why I am the least musician-y person who has ever existed. And look into the description, there are gonna be other videos linked there. Yeah? Okay, fuck off.